And with our first three holes, we successfully hit, what we call a big alteration zone, which hadn't been hit on the project yet. We said, okay, this is exciting. These alteration halos are often associated with uranium deposits in the Athabasca Basin. But what we need to do is stay disciplined and apply this ANT survey to help us prioritize where to follow up in the fall of 2024. So we did ANT, and we successfully completed that, and then that led us to this drill program we had in the fall here. We're really building off those initial good results.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of CEO and Market Expert Interviews. I'm your host, Lucian. Some of you know me as Triangle Investor from social medias. Today, I'm joined by Cosa Resources CEO, Mr. Keith Bodnarchuk. Keith, welcome back. Great to have you once again.
Great to be back, Lucian.
Thank you very much. You were a guest in my show a couple of times before, but nevertheless, for the new investors, let's say, give a quick 1-minute overview update on Cosa Resources.
Yeah, certainly. So we are somewhat of a newer story, but we're led by a team with a track record of making discoveries of uranium deposits in the Athabasca Basin in Saskatchewan, Canada. Our previous stops include NextGen, Denison Mines, IsoEnergy. So really over the past year, we kind of built COSA, and we've just been releasing our initial drill results at our Ursa project. We had our second campaign here and released drill results here in the past few weeks. And importantly, we hit elevated radioactivity with our final hole of the drill program, which is a terrific result for any uranium exploration company. And it really sets us up for an exciting 2025. So basically, we're a newer story, but we are a team that has done it multiple times in the past. And we do have some exciting drill results we just put out that is really setting the stage for us to have, a terrific 2025.
Yeah. I want to hear more about the drill results. Let's take a step back and talk about your strategy for the Ursa project and the exploration leading up for this fall drilling program. Tell me more about it, please.
Yeah, certainly. So the Ursa project, it's located in the Athabasca Basin in Saskatchewan, Canada. It's 100% owned. The reason we really like it is it covers about 65 kilometers of the Cable Bay Shear Zone. We really like to call this a uranium corridor. It's really one of those it's really an analog to the great uranium corridors that host McArthur River, Cigar Lake, the two largest uranium mines in the world. We think that we have an analog in that. And it's really that last great corridor that hasn't seen a significant discovery. And we think that's because it just has had limited exploration in the past. It hasn't had modern technology applied to it. And so when we acquired it, it was really at the end of 2022. We spent 2023 really advancing it so it could get to a drilling stage. And when you're tackling 65 kilometers of a trend, which is huge in the Athabasca Basin, for scale, that's like mapping down from Cigar Lake past McArthur River down to Denison's ground. So how can you attack that in a meaningful way to make a discovery as quickly as possible? So we applied this mobile MT, which is a modern airborne survey. We managed to define 10 key areas and importantly, kind of reduce the 65 kilometers down to say, 20 kilometers of area we like to explore. We went in early 2023, did some ground geophysics over 5 of those areas. And then in April of 2024, we drilled our first 3 holes at the Ursa project. There had been 15 holes drilled in the past. There was mostly in the 90s and early 2000s. They were somewhat limited by technology at the time. And they left, I guess, a lot of questions unanswered. They just weren't having success in the area. And so we went in there, and with our first 3 holes, we successfully hit, what we call a big alteration zone, which hadn't been hit on the project yet. We said, okay, this is exciting. These alteration halos are often associated with uranium deposits in the Athabasca Basin. But what we need to do is stay disciplined and apply this ANT survey to help us prioritize where to follow up in the fall of 2024. So we did ANT, and we successfully completed that, and then that led us to this drill program we had in the fall here. We're really building off those initial good results, and so it's something where every time we've kind of set foot on this Ursa project, we've really upgraded it. We've really kind of I think brought it closer, started to put the pieces together towards making that significant discovery, which brings us to the recent drill results, which we had with our final drill hole of this program, hitting, significant results in elevated radioactivity.
Yeah, that was hole 6, if I remember correctly. Let's talk more in details about that. What exactly did you hit, and what is the significance?
Yeah, certainly. So hole 6 was drilled on our Kodiak trend. Kodiak trend in the Ursa project was where we focused our March and April drilling of this year. We had those interesting results with, like I said, but we did apply that ANT survey to figure out, okay, we've hit this interesting halo. Where do we go from here? Which direction do we go? And so with the final hole of this program, which is hole 6, we decided to follow up our initial ANT anomaly. So we drilled a hole. There's not another hole within 2 kilometers of it. Importantly, we hit alteration in structure in the sandstone, which represents these potential alteration halos around a deposit. We got down to the target zone. It was somewhat interesting. We didn't have any radioactivity there. Then we kept going into the basement rock, and we managed to hit elevated radioactivity in multiple zones, greater than 1,000 counts per second, up to 2,700 counts per second. Not high grade, but what it does is it shows us that there is, a source of uranium in the area, and there is uranium that's seeping into this rock. And this is sometimes how these monster deposits start to show themselves, right? If you go 50 meters below a lot of the, great deposits, you don't expect to see a significant amount of uranium. And so, the fact we're seeing elevated radioactivity here really sets us up and shows us that, okay, this is the most elevated radioactivity that's been hit on the project. And, it's one where we do have that large alteration above it. It's really setting the table for us to potentially be on to something significant in that area.
Yeah, you mentioned significant basement conductor in hole 4, if I am correct. Why is that important?
So the conductor model is one that's existed in the basin for a long time. It's been very successful. MacArthur River, Cigar Lake, those discoveries are based on that. And essentially what it is, in the Athabasca Basin, you have the sandstone above the sedimentary rocks, and below that you have what we call the basement rock, which is a combination of metamorphic and igneous rocks. Within that basement rock, you'll get these graphitic units, what we call conductors. And these graphitic units are susceptible to having really, large or deep-rooted fault zones in them, which allows a lot of fluid to shoot through them. And this fluid is a main component of forming these uranium deposits. And so basically what you're looking for is, a highly graphitic or conductive rock type where you might get these big fault zones where this fluid can flow through, and it could be the source of forming your uranium deposit. And so a knock on this project had been, we haven't found one of those conventional conductors yet, the 15 holes that were drilled by the previous operator. And so what we did with our, I guess it'd be the 4th hole on the project, is it was in the Kodiak trend, and we stepped back and we hit a significant conductor, which hadn't been hit on this project yet. And so you take a further step back, you start saying, okay, we're starting to get all those pieces you're looking for, for this significant, potentially making a significant discovery. We entered this project where it hadn't seen any big sandstone alteration. We hit that. It hadn't seen, a typical conductor. We hit that. And then we also hit it looks like to be the most significant radioactivity that's ever been hit on the project with our final hole. So like I said, each time we set foot on the project, we keep making progress, and really advancing this project, I think, towards a meaningful result.
Yeah, so you achieved your goals over there. I would like to hear more about the follow-up strategy. How will that look like?
So we do have assays and geochem pending. I think that'll help dictate how exactly we're going to follow up. But every time, like I said, every time we set foot on this project, it's really amazing by what we're able to pull out of it. And, for additional context, that hole where we did hit elevated radioactivity, context is everything. There's not another hole for 2 kilometers. A lot of these deposits that you're going after are 500 meters in length. They're quite tiny. And so, this is an area of Kodiak that we're going to come back to. The assays and geochem will help guide us on exactly how we intend to follow up. But this is an area we need to get back to. Ursa is a project that, keeps surprising us with the kind of results we're getting out of it so early on. And so, yeah, so I think 2025 will be exciting in that regard of getting back on the ground there and following up these terrific results.
Yeah, you traded down on the day of this news release. What do you think the market might be missing?
So I think, it is very difficult for explorers to make a discovery. And I think it's, very difficult for investors to determine when a group is getting closer to that discovery. What I mean by that is, when we were at ISO Energy, we were drilling out the fringes of the Hurricane deposit and we traded flat or even down for a significant amount of time until we ultimately got into that high grade domain. And once that happened, I mean, you kind of missed the opportunity, right? We went up from 30 cents to $6.50 in that stretch. So it is very difficult. There's a lot of noise in the space. There's a lot of new groups popping up, every month entering the space. And, there's a lot of volatility in the markets right now. And so, for us, what I want to reiterate to potential investors and current investors is that we're a team that's done it multiple times. We've created value even in bad uranium markets. These are significant results. Every time we set foot on this project, we think that we're getting closer towards ultimately making that significant discovery. And so, we're very excited by the results. We think we built a company where, despite how it's traded over the past few days, one where it does have a strong shareholder base that, can really set the table for when times do change, when the market does change in a positive direction, and we are able to build off these results, that you'll see it reflected in our share price. So I think, these times when there's a bit of impatience or a bit of disconnect in the market, these are great buying opportunities, I would say. And, it's something where we've strongly supported our stock whenever we're able to. And, we will continue to do that. And so sometimes, it is difficult for an investor, I'd say, to really try and understand when a company is coming closer towards ultimately making that meaningful drill hole. And I think, we're getting closer each time we set foot on Ursa.
Yeah. What other results can we expect near term? Not just from Ursa, but from the other projects as well.
Yeah, so Ursa wise, we will have the assays coming out here in the next few weeks to a month. That'll be a great catalyst, right? That'll confirm the amount of uranium that was present in that sixth hole, especially. We also have our ANT results coming out on the Ursa project and the Orion project. For context, we did do that, like I said, we did do that ANT survey this year. Our very first hole we drilled was hole 6 into that anomaly. And so to already hit, sandstone alteration plus elevated radioactivity with the very first hole after that survey is a huge result. And you're starting to see, a lot of our peers really utilize the ANT technology to help guide them on their projects. And so we're very excited to put out those results. And I think that can help show the market of where we can follow up hole 6 too, to give it more context. Like I said, we do have ANT results coming out of our Orion project, and we also have geophysics coming out for Aurora and Orbit project. These are ones that we got, late 2022, early 2023. They're ones where they are quite a bit shallower than our Ursa project. They're sitting right by the Key Lake mill, about 18 kilometers away, and they provide a good counterbalance for cost of exploration and really targeting compared to our Ursa project. And so those will have drill ready targets for 2025. So lots of news flow here, lots of catalysts. Despite what's happened with our share price here, this was a terrific result, and our team is very excited by what we're able to do at Ursa.
Definitely, Keith. What are you mentioned 2025 and some plans, but can you expand a bit on that? What are the plans for 2025 on all portfolio?
Yeah, so like I said, this, I think over the past couple of years, like especially, I guess, 2023, we really had to upgrade Ursa to where we had more low-hanging fruit, in a sense that we had to do all the geophysics, do all that, kind of the unloved work, I'd say, to get it to a place where it is now, where basically now we just drill. And so Ursa we'll look to get back to Ursa, obviously, in 2025 to start drilling there. We'll also have drill targets at Aurora and Orbit, and we'll continue to make sure we have that pipeline of targets ready to go and really create more opportunities like Ursa, where we do think we have that lower hanging fruit, where we can follow up on radioactivity, where we can really set ourselves up to potentially make that next great discovery. And, corporate development wise, we are always valuing opportunities and looking at opportunities to acquire ground. I think at this point now, with the success we've had at Ursa and the other pipeline of projects we've been able to really acquire, I think we'd only really pull the trigger on a deal if it's something where it brings in targets that are equal to Ursa, with that low hanging fruit, ones that can really set us up for that discovery. And I think like we've talked about in the past when we were at ISO, right? It was our 7th project where we ultimately made the Hurricane discovery, and the group did a few great acquisitions and they were focused on those projects. But then when they were able to acquire Laroque east from Cameco, that really set up what happened at Hurricane. And so we're always looking at that. We're always looking at opportunities to really increase our pipeline and really upgrade our pipeline of projects. But now we've put ourselves in a position where we can really be picky, I'd say, in what we're going to bring in. It's got to be with the right partner in order for us to acquire any more ground, because we're in great shape with what's happening at Ursa and some of our other projects.
Right. So investors can expect a steady news flow in the upcoming weeks and months, right?
Definitely. I think, like I said, the assays from this drill program plus A&T results, I think it's going to start to paint a picture of what's really happening at Ursa there and why we're so excited by it. And I think just encourage people to continue to follow the story. Like I said, it's kind of been a bit of a rough stretch with the volatility in the market and what's recently happened with the share price. But I think that just provides good opportunity, because we are doing good things. We're doing meaningful work, and the team behind me is putting in the extra hours that you need to make these significant discoveries. And so I'm extremely excited by the news we're going to be putting out, and extremely excited by what's shaping up to be exciting in 2025.
That was Keith Bodnarchuk, CEO for Cosa Resources. I wish you luck with your exploration programs out there, and we will be in touch definitely and update the shareholders with new results. Thank you, Keith.
Thanks, Lucian.